The sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Olivia Brooks' penthouse, casting warm gold across gleaming marble floors and immaculate designer furniture. She sat on a cream leather chaise, one stiletto dangling from her foot, staring blankly at the glittering skyline of San Francisco. In the distance, the Golden Gate Bridge stretched across the bay, a marvel of engineering she could admire from her living room without ever stepping outside. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. The wedding planner's voice crackled through the speakerphone on the side table. "Mrs. Brooks, we just confirmed the crystal centerpieces arrived. Mark's family requested the champagne be swapped to the 2008 vintage, but we can manage that. Also, the press is setting up across the street. Do you want to issue a statement about keeping the event private?" Olivia barely heard her. She tucked a loose strand of her glossy black hair behind her ear, fingers grazing the diamond earring that probably cost more than most people's yearly salary. "Olivia." "Ms. Brooks?" She snapped out of it. "Yes, that's fine, Grace." "Handle it. Thank you." Her voice was calm, controlled. It always was. She disconnected, sinking back into the chaise, exhaling a slow breath. Across the room, her reflection caught in the grand mirror, the picture of elegance wrapped in silk, polished to perfection, the reflection of a woman who had it all, the money, the power, the man everyone envied. So why did she feel like she was standing on the edge of a cliff? A soft knock sounded. Sophie Chen, her best friend and business partner, peeked in. "You okay, Liv? You kind of disappeared after the final fitting." Olivia forced a smile. "I'm fine. Just needed a minute." Sophie stepped inside, her dark eyes sharp with concern. "You're not fine. You haven't been fine all week." "What is it? Cold feet? Mark's family?" She paused, then smirked softly. "Or is it just the terrifying thought of committing your life to someone in front of 500 people and half the city's social elite?" Olivia gave a small laugh. All of the above. But the laugh didn't reach her eyes. Sophie noticed. "Liv, you don't have to do this," Sophie said gently, sitting on the edge of the chaise. "You can say no. You can walk away." Olivia closed her eyes, pressing her fingertips to her temple. "It's not that simple." "Why not?" Because, Olivia thought, walking away would mean admitting she was lost. That all the success, the business empire, the magazine covers, the Forbes lists, none of it made her happy. That for all the deals she closed, she couldn't seem to close the deal with herself. "Because I've worked too hard to get here," she said softly. "And if I stop now, what was it all for?" Sophie reached out, resting a hand on Olivia's arm. "Liv, you don't have to prove anything to anyone." "Not to Mark, not to your mother, not even to me." Olivia swallowed hard, blinking back the sudden sting in her eyes. She hated this part of herself, the part that felt vulnerable, exposed. She was the woman who commanded boardrooms, who negotiated billion-dollar acquisitions, who launched a tech company from her tiny apartment and turned it into a global powerhouse. She wasn't supposed to hesitate. She wasn't supposed to break. "I'm fine," she repeated, straightening her shoulders, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her silk robe. "I just need to get through today." Sophie watched her for a moment, then sighed. "All right, but if you need me, I'm here, always." Olivia managed a genuine smile. "Thank you, Soph, really." When Sophie left, the silence crept back in, wrapping around Olivia like a shroud. She stood, crossing to the window. Down below, photographers clustered outside the towering hotel where the reception would be held. Mark's last name, Davenport, was a legacy name, a dynasty rooted in old money real estate. Their wedding was a media frenzy, not because she was marrying Mark, but because of what they represented together. Power, ambition, an unshakable empire. Olivia placed a hand on the glass, feeling the cool surface beneath her fingertips. She thought of Mark's polished smile, his smooth reassurances, the way he always spoke of "we" and "our brand" when they talked about the future. She knew he loved her in his way. But somewhere inside, a voice whispered, "Do you love him the same way?" Her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. A message from her mother. "Press is wild. Make sure you control the narrative. Remember, perception is everything. Love you." Olivia smiled faintly. Perception. Yes, she knew all about that. With a deep breath, she turned from the window, steeling herself for the hours ahead. She had a wedding to run, a life to step into, and yet deep in her chest something small and restless stirred. Something that wondered if, just maybe, the life she had built was missing the very thing she wanted most. Connection, not the curated, polished kind, but the messy, unpredictable, life-altering kind, the kind she wasn't sure she even believed in anymore. By evening, the world would watch Olivia Brooks step into a new chapter as Mrs. Olivia Davenport. But standing in her penthouse, staring at her reflection, Olivia wondered who she would become once the cameras stopped flashing and the world stopped watching, and whether she would recognize the woman looking back. The afternoon sun hung low as the rehearsal dinner unfolded on the rooftop terrace of the Davenport Hotel, the city skyline a breathtaking backdrop. Olivia Brooks floated among the guests, smiling, toasting, laughing at the right moments, an elegant figure in pale gold, her diamond bracelet catching the light with every graceful gesture. But beneath the surface her mind churned. She had barely touched her champagne. Mark, ever the gracious host, worked the room, his tailored suit impeccable, his smile practiced. He caught her eye from across the terrace, raising his glass in a silent toast. She returned the smile, small but genuine, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. She needed air. Slipping away from the crowd, Olivia moved toward the terrace edge, resting her hands on the glass railing. The cool evening breeze whispered against her skin, offering a fleeting moment of peace. But even here, she could hear the faint echoes of clinking glasses, laughter, and the low thrum of the band warming up inside. "Olivia?" The voice behind her startled her. She turned, expecting Sophie or perhaps Mark, but instead she saw a man she hadn't seen in years, Jason Miller. For a heartbeat, she couldn't breathe. He stood there, slightly older, a touch more worn around the edges, his sandy hair tousled, his eyes the same deep blue she remembered from late nights long ago. And beside him, holding tightly to his hand, was a small boy. A boy with hair the same dark shade as hers, eyes unmistakably familiar. Olivia's throat tightened. "Jason?" He gave a small, almost sheepish smile. "Hey, Liv?" Liv. No one called her that anymore. The boy looked up at her, curious and shy. Jason gave the boy's hand a squeeze. "This is Ethan." Olivia's gaze flicked between Jason and Ethan, her heart pounding. Her mind raced, trying to assemble the pieces, but nothing made sense. "What are you doing here?" she managed to whisper. Jason shifted awkwardly, glancing over his shoulder at the glittering party behind her. "We need to talk. I tried reaching you, but, well, you're not exactly easy to get past these days." Olivia felt her pulse hammer in her ears. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not today. "Jason, you can't just show up here. This is my rehearsal dinner." Jason nodded. his face tense. "I know. Believe me, I didn't plan it this way. But when I heard you were getting married, I realized I couldn't wait any longer." Ethan tugged at Jason's sleeve, eyes wide as he looked up at Olivia. "Daddy, is she the lady you showed me in the picture?" The word struck Olivia like a slap. "Daddy." Her breath caught, and her knees felt unsteady. Jason laid a calming hand on Ethan's shoulder, then looked up, meeting Olivia's gaze directly. "I think you know who he is, Liv." She did. The features were unmistakable. The way Ethan tilted his head, the shape of his eyes, even the small dimple in his chin. She didn't need a paternity test. Her heart told her everything she needed to know. 1,000 memories surged. The brief, wild affair she'd buried under ambition. The breakneck pace of building her empire. The unanswered calls she'd written off as a mercy. She'd left that chapter closed, convinced it had been the right decision. Until now. "Why are you here, Jason?" Her voice was tight, barely controlled. "Why now?" Jason's eyes softened. "Because he's 7 years old, Olivia. And he deserves to know who his mother is." The words crashed over her, knocking the air from her lungs. She felt the weight of the moment pressing on her chest, the years of carefully curated perfection threatening to crack apart. Inside, she could hear Sophie calling her name, Mark laughing with the guests, her mother orchestrating every social angle like a general. And here on the terrace stood a man and a child who might shatter everything. For a long moment, none of them spoke. Then Ethan reached out, his small fingers brushing Olivia's hand. "Hi," he said shyly. "Are you really my mommy?" The question broke her. Olivia sank to her knees, her hands trembling as she cupped the boy's face, studying every inch of him. She had no idea what she was doing. She only knew that everything she thought she understood about her life had just tilted on its axis. Jason watched quietly, his face a mixture of hope and fear. Behind them, the music swelled as the band struck up a lively tune, laughter and conversation rising into the night. But for Olivia, the world had narrowed to this moment, this boy, and the man she had once loved. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest as she whispered, I don't know what to say." Jason crouched beside her, his voice low and raw. "Just say you'll listen." "That's all I'm asking, Olivia. Just listen." And with that, the walls she had so carefully built over the years began to crumble, piece by fragile piece. Olivia barely registered the coolness of the night air or the steady murmur of the city below. She could only hear the pounding of her own heart. Jason straightened, his expression raw with vulnerability. "I know this is a shock, Liv. But I couldn't keep him away anymore. He's been asking about you, about his mother. He deserves answers." Olivia pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, blinking back the sudden sting of tears. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here, not tonight. Not when her entire world was about to be broadcast in wedding magazines and social feeds across the country. "Olivia?" A smooth voice broke through the haze. She turned sharply. Mark stood a few feet away, his handsome face tight with confusion. Sophie hovered behind him, eyes wide, nervously glancing between Jason and the boy. "What's going on?" Mark asked, his gaze flicking to Jason, then Ethan. "Who is this?" Olivia opened her mouth, but no words came out. Jason stepped forward slightly, his hand resting protectively on Ethan's shoulder. "I'm Jason Miller. We knew each other years ago. This is Ethan." His voice was calm but firm, laced with something Olivia recognized instantly. The quiet determination of a father defending his child. Mark's jaw tensed. "Why are you here?" Olivia saw the flicker in Mark's eyes. the calculation, the instinct to control the situation, to wrap it up neatly and preserve the perfect picture. She felt a familiar tug in her chest, the pull of the life she had built so carefully. Sophie touched Olivia's arm gently. "Liv, maybe we should go inside and talk." But Olivia couldn't move. She was rooted to the spot, staring at Ethan, at the way he clutched Jason's hand, at the way his dark eyes shimmered with uncertainty and hope. "I think," Olivia whispered, her voice cracking, "I need a moment." Mark's expression shifted, his smooth mask slipping just slightly. "Olivia, we can't just leave everyone in there. I need a moment," she repeated, sharper this time. Mark's lips pressed into a thin line. Without another word, he turned and walked back toward the terrace doors, his shoulders stiff. Sophie lingered a second longer, her gaze soft and worried, before following. Olivia turned back to Jason and Ethan. Her eyes filled, her throat tightening painfully. "Ethan," she murmured, kneeling again, brushing a trembling hand through his hair. I never knew." Jason crouched beside them, his voice low. "I tried, Olivia. I left messages, emails. But you were already gone, already in another world." She closed her eyes, guilt slamming into her like a tidal wave. How many calls had she ignored, brushing them aside as distractions from the empire she was so determined to build? Ethan's small voice broke through her thoughts. "Mommy, are you mad at me?" Olivia let out a choked breath, pulling him into her arms, feeling his small, solid warmth. "Oh, baby, no. No, I could never be mad at you." Jason exhaled, his shoulders sagging slightly. "He just wanted to meet you, Olivia. I didn't come here to ruin your life." Olivia held Ethan tightly, her heart aching with a fierce, unfamiliar kind of love. She looked up at Jason, her voice trembling. "You've just changed everything." Behind her, through the terrace doors, she could hear the laughter, the music, the carefully orchestrated celebration of her future. But right here, in this small circle of three, she felt something else entirely. Something real. "Come," she whispered, rising slowly and reaching for Jason's hand, a flicker of old connection flashing between them. "Let's figure this out, together." As they stepped away from the edge, Olivia cast one last glance toward the glowing party inside. The party meant to celebrate the life she was about to enter. For the first time that night, she wondered if that life, perfect, polished, planned, was really the one she wanted at all. The small private lounge just off the terrace was quiet, the door muffling the sounds of the party beyond. Olivia sank into the velvet sofa, Ethan on her lap, his small fingers tracing the delicate embroidery of her gown. Jason paced nearby, his hands in his pockets, his jaw tight. "I didn't mean to ambush you," Jason said quietly. "I've tried to reach you so many times, but when I saw the wedding announcement, I couldn't stay away any longer." Olivia smoothed Ethan's hair, her mind racing. Her world felt like a house of cards, trembling under the weight of one unexpected gust. She looked up, her voice softer now. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Years ago, I mean." Jason stopped pacing, turning toward her. "I tried, but you were gone." Changing numbers, moving cities, wrapped in press tours and investors. "I thought maybe you just wanted to forget." Olivia flinched. She thought back to those days, the relentless climb, the nights in airports, the deals she couldn't afford to lose. She had told herself she was chasing her dreams, but maybe she had been running too. A knock startled them. Sophie slipped inside, closing the door gently behind her. "Liv, the guests are asking. Mark's, well, he's upset. He doesn't understand what's happening." Neither do I. Olivia opened her mouth, but no sound came. Instead, she gestured weakly toward Jason and Ethan. Sophie's sharp gaze flicked to Jason, then softened as she looked at the child on Olivia's lap. She exhaled slowly. "Oh," Jason cleared his throat. "I should go. I didn't mean to disrupt your night. I just wanted Olivia to know, and for Ethan to meet his mother." Ethan looked up, his wide eyes worried. "Are we going home, Daddy?" Olivia's chest squeezed painfully. She touched Ethan's cheek gently. "You don't have to leave." "Not yet, please." Sophie crouched beside her, voice low. "Liv, you don't owe anyone out there an explanation right now." "But Mark will want one. Are you ready for that?" Olivia pressed her lips together. "No." "But I can't pretend none of this is happening. Not anymore." Sophie nodded, squeezing Olivia's hand briefly. "I'll buy you some time." As Sophie slipped out, Jason sat across from Olivia, his posture tense. "I know this is a disaster for you. I'm sorry." Olivia shook her head. "You don't need to apologize." "I do. For not being there. For not knowing." Their eyes met, a current passing between them. Jason's guardedness softened just a little. "He's a good kid, Liv. Bright. Funny. Stubborn as hell," Jason said with a faint, crooked smile. "He gets that from you." Olivia gave a breathless laugh, brushing away a tear. "I want to know him. I don't know how yet, but I want to figure it out." Jason leaned forward slightly. "That's all I'm asking. A chance." The lounge door opened sharply. Mark stood there, his face pale, his eyes cold. "Olivia," he said, his voice tight. "We need to talk. Now." The air in the room shifted, tension curling like smoke. Olivia rose slowly, lifting Ethan into Jason's arms. "Wait here," she murmured. Jason hesitated, but he nodded. Ethan clung to him, watching Olivia with wide, uncertain eyes. As Olivia crossed the room, Mark stepped back, his jaw clenched. "Who is he, Olivia? Who is that child?" Olivia drew a shaky breath. "Mark, please, not here, not like this. Are you telling me you have a child you never mentioned?" "On the night before our wedding?" His voice cracked, anger and disbelief warring on his face. She reached out as if to calm him, but he pulled back. "I deserve the truth, Olivia." Her shoulders sagged. "Yes, you do, and I promise I will tell you everything. But right now, I need a moment. I need to understand this myself." Mark laughed bitterly. "You need a moment? Olivia, we're about to stand in front of 500 people tomorrow. Do you think we can just pause and resume later?" Tears burned in her eyes. "I know this isn't fair. I know. But please, Mark, give me time." For a long moment they stared at each other, the weight of everything unsaid pressing between them. Finally, Mark stepped back, his face closing off. "Take your time, Olivia. Just know that when you come back, everything might not be waiting the way you left it." He turned and walked away, leaving Olivia trembling, standing alone in the hallway between the life she had built and the one she had never expected to find. Olivia stood frozen in the hallway, Mark's words still echoing in her ears. The distant hum of the party filtered through the walls, laughter, clinking glasses, music. But inside her chest, everything was painfully still. She pressed a hand to her heart, feeling it pound hard beneath her fingers. Her wedding, her carefully constructed life, Mark's disappointment. Ethan's innocent eyes, Jason's quiet, raw gaze. "Liv?" Sophie appeared at the corner, hesitant. "They're starting to notice. Mark told his parents, and they're not happy." Olivia let out a shuddering breath. "I need a minute, Sophie." Please. Sophie stepped closer, her eyes gentle but firm. I know you, Olivia. You can't outrun this one. And you shouldn't. But whatever you choose to do next, it has to be real. Not for the cameras. Not for the guests. For you. For me, Olivia thought. Back in the lounge, Jason sat with Ethan on his lap, murmuring quietly, soothing the boy as he fidgeted. When Olivia returned, Jason stood quickly, searching her face. Did he threaten you? Jason asked, his voice edged with worry. No, Olivia murmured, shaking her head. He needs time. Jason gave a short, almost bitter laugh. That makes two of us. Ethan tugged at Olivia's sleeve, his small face crinkled in worry. Are you mad at me, Mommy? Did I do something bad? No, baby, Olivia whispered, kneeling down and wrapping her arms around him. Her throat tightened. You didn't do anything wrong. Jason crouched beside them. We should probably go, Liv. I didn't come here to blow up your life. I wanted him to see you. But Olivia shook her head. No, don't go yet, please. Jason hesitated. Liv, you're getting married tomorrow. I shouldn't even be here. Olivia sat back on her heels, staring at him. Do you really think anything can go forward after this? Do you think I can walk down that aisle pretending none of this happened? Jason looked away, his jaw tightening. I don't know what I'm doing, Olivia admitted softly. But I know I need to figure it out. Not next month, not next year. Now. Sophie slipped back in, glancing nervously at the door. Olivia, Mark's mother wants to speak with you. Should I stall? Olivia let out a dry laugh. Can you stall a hurricane? Sophie gave her a quick, fierce hug. I'll hold them off. But not forever. When they were alone again, Jason sat down heavily. I was angry, you know, for a long time. I thought you just cut me out. I thought maybe you didn't care. I didn't know, Olivia whispered. I didn't know you were trying to reach me. I believe you. Jason's voice softened. But it doesn't change the fact that we're standing here now, in this mess. Olivia reached for Ethan, brushing a hand through his hair. He's beautiful, Jason. He's perfect. Jason's eyes glistened. He deserves better than what I can give him alone. Their eyes met, and something old stirred between them, something both familiar and painfully new. The door opened sharply. This time it was Vivian Brooks, Olivia's mother, her elegant figure tense, her diamond earrings flashing. Olivia, she said crisply, what exactly is going on? The Davenports are furious. The press is sniffing around. We need to contain this before it turns into a scandal. Olivia rose slowly, her expression steady. Mother, this is Ethan, my son. Vivian's face went pale, her mouth opening slightly before she snapped it closed. You can't be serious. I am, Olivia said calmly. And I need you to understand something, Mother. I'm not going to sweep this under the rug. I'm not hiding him, Vivian faltered, something almost like fear flickering in her eyes. Olivia, think about what you're risking. Everything you've built. I am thinking about it, Olivia said, her voice firmer. For the first time in years, Jason rose beside her, watching quietly. Vivian looked between them, her face tightening. You're throwing away everything for a man who left you and a child you didn't even know existed? Olivia smiled faintly, tears in her eyes. No, Mother. I'm finally choosing something real. And in that moment, standing between the life she had built and the one waiting just outside her reach, Olivia realized she was no longer afraid of what she might lose. She was ready to find out what she might gain The hotel suite was suddenly too quiet. Olivia stood by the window, arms crossed tightly over her chest, as she gazed out at the city lights, glittering like jewels in the dark. Behind her, Jason sat on the edge of the couch, Ethan curled against his side, half asleep. Sophie had stepped out to give them privacy, and her mother, after a tense final look, had swept away to manage the incoming fallout. "You should go back to the party," Jason said softly. "You have 100 people waiting for you." "No," Olivia murmured, her voice thin. "They can wait. For once, they can all wait." Jason leaned his head back against the couch, closing his eyes. "I didn't come here to take you away from this life, Livy. I know what you've built. I know who you are now." She turned slowly, her throat tightening. "Do you?" "Because I'm starting to think I don't even know who I am." He opened his eyes, meeting her gaze across the room. "You're still the woman I knew. You just stopped letting anyone see her." The words cut deep, and she sank onto the armchair, pressing her fingers to her lips. "I was so sure, Jason. So sure that if I worked hard enough, if I achieved enough, I'd feel whole. But here I am, on the eve of everything I ever thought I wanted, and it's slipping through my hands." Jason gave a quiet, sad laugh. "We were both good at running, huh? You ran toward success. I ran away from everything when it got hard. Neither of us got it right." Ethan stirred, murmuring softly, and Olivia's heart twisted. She rose and crossed the room, kneeling beside him, brushing his hair back from his forehead. His eyelashes fluttered, and a small, content sigh escaped his lips. "He deserves better," she whispered. "He deserves us," Jason said quietly. "Even if we're a mess." Olivia looked up at him, her chest tight. "Mark won't forgive this. His family won't either. This wedding, it was supposed to tie together everything I'd worked for." Jason's jaw tightened. "I'm not asking you to walk away from all of it, Liv. I'm asking you to walk toward something. Toward him." For a long, aching moment, they just looked at each other. Years of silence, regret, longing, all hanging in the space between them. A soft knock interrupted the moment. Sophie peeked in, her face pale. "Liv, Mark's parents are calling for you, and the press just got wind that something's going on. We need to decide what you want to do." Olivia straightened slowly, smoothing her hands down her skirt. She looked at Jason, at Ethan, at Sophie, her loyal, worried friend, and realized she was standing at the edge of the biggest decision of her life. "Tell them I'll be out shortly," Olivia said, her voice steady. Sophie hesitated, then nodded, slipping away. Jason rose, lifting Ethan gently into his arms. "We'll go. You need space to handle this." But Olivia reached out, stopping him. "No, stay, please." "I don't want you to leave." Jason's eyes softened. "Liv, I don't have the answers yet," Olivia whispered, her throat thick. "But I know I can't face this alone." "Not anymore." Jason let out a slow breath, his shoulders relaxing as he sat back down, Ethan safe against him. Olivia turned back to the window. The glittering city stretched out before her like a promise and a challenge, all at once. For the first time, she wasn't thinking about headlines, deals, or legacy. She was thinking about love, about family, about who she wanted to be when no one was watching. And she knew, deep in her heart, that the next steps she took would change everything. The early hours of the morning cast a dim, bluish light into the suite, softening the sharp lines of the city outside. Olivia sat on the couch now, her shoes kicked off, her knees drawn up, watching Ethan sleep peacefully against Jason. Her mind churned, looping over every conversation, every choice, every consequence waiting just beyond dawn. The quiet knock at the door startled them both. "Come in," Olivia called softly. Sophie entered carefully, a cup of coffee in her hands, her face pale but composed. Mark left. He said he needed time to think. His parents, though, they're furious, Olivia. They want statements, explanations. They're threatening to pull out of the joint venture with your company. Olivia's stomach twisted. She had expected this. She had built an empire on delicate, powerful relationships, and now those connections were fraying. She rubbed her temples, feeling the weight press down on her. "You don't have to handle this alone," Sophie murmured, setting the coffee down. Her gaze flicked to Jason, then to Ethan. "But you do have to decide what matters most. Not just for today, Livy. For the long run." Jason shifted slightly, careful not to wake Ethan. "I should take him back to the hotel. This might not be the right place." Olivia looked at him, really looked, her eyes softening. "Jason, I can't do this without you. Not anymore. I've spent so long thinking I had to carry everything on my own. But I don't want to anymore." Jason's expression flickered. Surprise, maybe even hope. But also hesitation. "Liv, are you sure? We can't just pick up where we left off. There's a lot between us. Things we never said, things we never dealt with." She swallowed hard. "I know. And I'm not asking for a miracle. I'm asking for time, for honesty, for a chance to figure this out. Together." Sophie sat down beside her, her voice quiet. "Liv, if you walk away from the Davenports, you're walking away from more than just a wedding. You know that, right?" Olivia gave a small, tired laugh. "I know. But what's the point of building all this? The company, the reputation, the legacy, if it leaves me standing here alone?" Jason shifted, lowering Ethan gently onto the couch cushions, tucking a blanket around him. His voice softened. "You were never alone, Olivia. You just didn't let anyone in." The words struck deep, and she felt the sting of tears at the edges of her eyes. Sophie reached out, squeezing her hand. "Whatever you decide, Liv, I'm with you, always. But make sure you're choosing for you, not for the headlines or the investors. Choose the life you want." Olivia looked from Sophie to Jason to the small, sleeping boy who had quietly, unexpectedly cracked open her heart. And for the first time in years, she felt something shift inside her. A glimmer of clarity, fragile but real. She rose slowly, smoothing her hands down her arms. "Sophie, call a press conference. I'll speak to them myself." Sophie's eyes widened. "Liv, are you sure?" "I'm sure." Olivia drew a shaky breath. "I'm not hiding from this, not anymore." Jason rose beside her, his expression uncertain but supportive. "Liv, whatever happens, I'm here. For Ethan, for you if you want." Her eyes shimmered as she met his gaze. "I want. I don't know where this goes, Jason, but I want to find out." As dawn crept across the city, Olivia stood at the edge of the biggest gamble of her life. One not measured in money or influence, but in love, trust, and the family she was only just beginning to rediscover. The press conference room on the ground floor of the hotel was packed. Olivia stood just behind the closed door, heart racing, the hum of reporters and camera crews seeping through the walls. Sophie hovered beside her, phone in hand, whispering last-minute updates. "We can still call this off," Sophie murmured, eyes flicking up. "We can release a statement, control the message." Olivia shook her head, her fingers trembling slightly as she smoothed her blazer. "No. I need to face them. I need to own this. Sophie gave a small, proud smile. "You've got this." Olivia stepped forward, the door opening to a wall of camera flashes. The room fell silent as she approached the podium, every eye fixed on her. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Good morning," she began, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. "I know there's been a lot of speculation about last night and the status of my wedding to Mark Davenport. I want to be honest with you all." A murmur rippled through the room. "Last night, I was reunited with someone from my past, Jason Miller, and introduced to someone I never knew existed, my son Ethan. This has been a profound, life-changing moment for me, and I need to step back from the public eye and the planned wedding to figure out what's next for my family." The reporters surged forward, voices overlapping, questions flying. Olivia raised a hand gently. "I know you have questions, and I will answer them in time. But for now, I ask for privacy. For me, for Ethan, and for everyone affected." She paused, her gaze sweeping the room, meeting the stunned, curious, and sometimes sympathetic expressions. "For years, I've built my life around success, ambition, and control. But some things in life remind you that love, connection, and authenticity matter more. Today, I choose to prioritize those things." As she stepped back, the room erupted in a frenzy of flashes and shouts. But Olivia felt something lift in her chest, a strange, light feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Back upstairs, Jason waited with Ethan, pacing the suite nervously. When Olivia entered, he turned quickly, searching her face. "How did it go?" Jason asked. Olivia exhaled, smiling faintly. "It's done. I told the truth." Jason's eyes softened. "I'm proud of you, Liv." Ethan ran up to her, throwing his small arms around her waist. "Mommy, are you okay?" Olivia knelt, hugging him tightly. "I'm okay, sweetheart." "We're okay." Jason crouched beside them, his hand brushing Olivia's lightly. "What happens now?" She looked at him, her heart beating steady and sure. "Now, we figure this out, together, one step at a time." For the first time in years, Olivia wasn't thinking about headlines, acquisitions, or deals. She was thinking about breakfast with her son, about long conversations with Jason, about the messy, imperfect, beautiful life waiting just beyond this moment. And as she sat on the floor with them, laughing softly as Ethan clambered onto her lap, Olivia knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. Later that afternoon, Olivia sat cross-legged on the hotel suite's plush rug, a coloring book spread out before her. Ethan leaned against her, happily scribbling blue crayon across the page. Jason sat nearby, thumbing nervously through his phone. The knock on the door came sharp and unexpected. Olivia stiffened, exchanging a glance with Jason. She rose slowly, smoothing her blouse, and opened the door to find Mark standing there. He looked different, tired, unshaven, his usually polished presence a little frayed at the edges. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, his eyes landing immediately on Ethan. "So it's true," Mark said softly, almost to himself. His gaze shifted back to Olivia. "Why didn't you tell me?" Olivia felt her throat tighten. "I didn't know. I just found out last night, Mark." Mark's eyes flashed. "Do you have any idea what this has done? The deals, the partnerships, the reputation? My family is furious. They think you humiliated them." Jason stood cautiously, placing a protective hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Maybe this isn't the time." "This is exactly the time," Mark snapped. "You show up here after all these years and suddenly her whole life unravels. You think you can just walk back in like nothing happened?" Olivia stepped between them, her voice firm. "Stop. Both of you. She looked at Mark, her heart aching. I know this hurts. I know this wasn't what we planned. But I can't pretend Ethan doesn't exist. And I can't marry you tomorrow pretending I'm someone I'm not. Mark's face crumpled, his composure slipping. Olivia, I love you. I fought for us. I've stood by you when everyone questioned you. And now, just like that, you're choosing them over me? Olivia felt the tears burning her eyes. I'm not choosing one over the other. I'm choosing honesty. For the first time in years, I'm choosing to live my life, not the version everyone expects from me. Mark let out a hollow laugh, shaking his head. You're throwing away everything we built. Jason's voice was low but steady. Maybe she's trying to build something new. Mark looked at Jason with a mix of resentment and resignation. Then his gaze softened, landing on Ethan, so small, so unaware of the adult storm swirling around him. I hope you know what you're doing, Olivia, Mark whispered. I don't, Olivia admitted softly. But for once, I'm okay with that. Mark gave her a long, lingering look, then nodded tightly. Without another word, he turned and left, the door clicking shut behind him. The silence that followed was thick and heavy. Jason moved closer, his hand brushing Olivia's. You okay? She let out a shaky breath. I think so. She turned to him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. I'm scared, Jason. What if I've just ruined everything? Jason's hand cupped her cheek gently. Liv, maybe you've just saved yourself. She leaned into his touch, feeling the heat of his palm against her skin. For the first time in years, she let herself rest there, vulnerable, unguarded. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the wreckage of one life and the fragile beginnings of another, Olivia realized that sometimes the bravest thing wasn't holding everything together. It was letting go. That night, after Ethan had finally drifted to sleep on the couch, Olivia and Jason sat across from each other at the small table by the window, the city lights glittering like scattered diamonds beyond the glass. Olivia traced the rim of her coffee mug, her fingers restless. He didn't deserve that today, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark, I blindsided him. Jason leaned forward, elbows on the table. Liv, you were blindsided too. You didn't plan this. None of us did. Olivia let out a shaky sigh. Still, I can't help feeling like everything is crashing around me. The company, my reputation, everything I've worked for. Jason studied her for a long moment, then spoke softly. Do you remember when we used to stay up late talking about what we wanted from life? You always said you wanted to build something meaningful. Not just money or status, but something real. She gave a small, sad smile. That was before I learned how complicated real can get. Jason reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. It's still what you want, isn't it? You're just standing in front of the part they never tell you about, the part where you have to let go of what no longer fits. Olivia swallowed hard, blinking back sudden tears. I don't even know who I am outside of this life, Jason. Outside of the company, the image, the control. Jason's hand closed gently over hers. You're a woman who just discovered she has a son who adores her. You're someone brave enough to face a whole room of reporters and tell the truth. And you're someone I've never stopped believing in. Her heart thudded painfully, emotions swirling in a way she hadn't let herself feel in years. You still believe in me? Jason's smile was tender, a little wistful. I always did. The moment stretched between them, warm and fragile. Suddenly, Olivia heard a small voice behind her. Mommy? She turned to see Ethan rubbing his eyes, his hair tousled, clutching his little blanket. Can I sleep with you? Her heart softened, and she scooped him into her arms. Of course, sweetheart. Come on. Jason rose quietly, watching them with a mixture of longing and quiet joy. I should go. You need rest. Olivia shifted Ethan against her shoulder, meeting Jason's gaze over the boy's sleepy head. Stay, please. We can figure things out in the morning. Together. Jason hesitated, then nodded slowly. All right. As Olivia carried Ethan to the bedroom, she felt a strange sense of peace settle over her. It wasn't certainty. She still didn't know how her career, her reputation, or even her future would unfold, but it was a start. And for the first time in years, she was no longer walking the road alone. Olivia woke early, sunlight filtering through the curtains, casting soft golden bands across the bed, where Ethan lay nestled beside her. His tiny hand was curled against her arm, his chest rising and falling with the steady rhythm of sleep. She lay still for a long moment, absorbing the weight and wonder of it all. This small body beside her, the life she never knew she had waiting outside the walls she'd built. A quiet knock sounded at the door. Jason stood in the hallway, his hair rumpled, a tentative smile on his face. Morning. Coffee? Olivia smiled softly, stepping out and pulling the door closed behind her so Ethan could sleep. Thank you. They sat together by the window, mugs warming their hands, watching the city stir awake below. The calm was deceptive. Olivia knew the storm was still waiting. Calls from investors, angry messages from Mark, headlines she hadn't yet read. You sure you want me here? Jason asked quietly, his voice tinged with uncertainty. This isn't exactly how I pictured showing up in your life again. Olivia exhaled, brushing a hand through her hair. Honestly, Jason, I don't know what I want yet, but I know I don't want you to leave. Jason studied her for a long beat, then nodded slowly. Okay. We'll take it one step at a time. A soft chime pulled Olivia's attention, her phone lighting up with messages. She scrolled through quickly. One from Sophie, checking in. Another from Vivian, curt and demanding. A string of media alerts. Her stomach clenched. Jason watched her face. Bad? Messy, Olivia murmured. But maybe necessary. He reached out, gently squeezing her hand. Liv, you're stronger than all of this. You always have been. Her eyes glistened. It doesn't feel that way right now. That's because you're human. And you're allowed to be. Their fingers stayed tangled for a long, quiet moment. Suddenly, Ethan padded into the room, hair sticking up, eyes sleepy but bright. Mommy. Can we get pancakes? Olivia laughed softly, pulling him into her lap. Pancakes? I think we can make that happen. Jason smiled, brushing a hand over Ethan's hair. I know a great little spot downstairs. Olivia kissed the top of Ethan's head, her heart tightening and warming all at once. Let's go. As they gathered their things, Olivia felt the first threads of hope tugging gently at her heart. The world outside could wait. The headlines, the backlash, the uncertainty. Right now, she was a woman with a son she was just beginning to know, and a man she once loved standing beside her, offering a second chance. And for the first time in a long time, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved both. The little breakfast cafe downstairs hummed softly with the sounds of clinking plates and gentle conversation. Olivia sat at a corner table, watching Ethan enthusiastically pour syrup over a mountain of pancakes. Jason sipped his coffee across from her, occasionally glancing at his phone, but mostly keeping his focus on them. Olivia tried to savor the moment. Ethan's giggles, the soft morning light, the cozy feel of a place where no one was whispering about headlines or wedding scandals. But her phone buzzed on the table again, and despite herself, her eyes flicked to the screen. "Mark," she murmured, exhaling sharply. Jason leaned forward slightly. "Do you want to talk to him?" "I don't know what to say." Olivia rubbed her temples. "I ended the engagement in front of the world, Jason. I humiliated him, his family. They have every reason to hate me right now." Jason's voice was gentle but firm. "Liv, you didn't end things because of me or even Ethan. You ended it because it wasn't right. You've been carrying that decision inside you for a long time." She gave him a tired smile. "How do you always cut to the truth like that?" He chuckled softly. "I remember you, Olivia. I remember the woman who used to dream out loud at 2 a.m, who wanted more than just numbers on a balance sheet." Her chest tightened. "She feels like a stranger to me now." Jason reached across the table, brushing his fingers lightly over hers. "She's still there. I see her right now." Before Olivia could answer, Ethan piped up, grinning. "Mommy, Daddy, can we go to the park after this? Please?" Olivia blinked, her heart clenching unexpectedly at the sound of those words. "Mommy, Daddy." She glanced at Jason, seeing the same flicker of emotion in his eyes. "Of course, sweetheart," she murmured, ruffling Ethan's hair. "We can go to the park." As they left the cafe, Olivia's phone buzzed again. This time she answered. "Olivia," Mark's voice came through, strained but controlled. "I don't want to fight. I just want to understand." Olivia stopped on the sidewalk, Jason and Ethan a few steps ahead, waiting. She closed her eyes. "Mark, I'm sorry. I know this hurt you, but you and I both know we were building something more for appearances than for love." There was a long silence on the line. Finally, Mark spoke, his voice soft. "I guess part of me hoped we'd learn to love each other the way we needed." Olivia swallowed hard. "I hope that too, but I can't live in a life built on hoping anymore. I need to live in what's real." Mark let out a slow breath. "Goodbye, Olivia. I hope you find what you're looking for." "Goodbye, Mark." Her voice wavered, but she held steady. She hung up, slipping the phone into her pocket, and turned to see Jason crouching to tie Ethan's shoelace, laughing as the boy wiggled impatiently. A smile tugged at her lips, bittersweet, but genuine. As she walked toward them, Olivia realized that though she had closed one chapter, painfully, publicly, a new one was opening, one that scared and thrilled her all at once. She didn't know exactly where this road would lead, but for the first time, she was ready to find out. The park was alive with the sound of children laughing and dogs chasing frisbees, the spring air filled with the scent of blooming flowers. Olivia sat on a bench, watching Ethan race across the grass with other kids, his laughter bubbling over as Jason jogged after him, pretending to be a monster. For the first time in what felt like years, Olivia let herself sink into the moment, soaking in the warmth of the sun, the joy on Ethan's face, and the simple, unpolished pleasure of being together. Jason returned to the bench, slightly out of breath, grinning as he dropped down beside her. "He's got more energy than I remember at that age." Olivia smiled softly. "He's amazing, Jason. I don't know how you did it all these years on your own." Jason shrugged, his gaze following Ethan. "It wasn't easy. But he's the best thing I've ever done. I just wish I'd found a way to tell you sooner." She turned, her eyes gentle. "I wish I had made space to listen." I buried myself so deep in work, in ambition, I didn't leave room for anything real. Jason reached over, his hand brushing hers. You're here now. That's what matters. They sat in a quiet, comfortable silence, watching Ethan play. Olivia felt the tension she'd been carrying, the weight of the company, the scandal, the broken engagement, begin to loosen, even if just a little. I've been thinking, Jason said after a moment, his voice cautious, about what comes next. For Ethan, for you, for us. Olivia's heart thudded. Jason, I'm scared. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to jump into something we're not ready for. He nodded slowly. I get that. We don't have to define everything today, but maybe we can start by just being here. Together. Giving Ethan a chance to know both of us. Giving ourselves a chance to figure out if there's still something between us worth rebuilding. She exhaled, feeling her heart lift just a little. I want that. I really do. Ethan came running up, his cheeks flushed, eyes bright. Mommy? Daddy, watch me climb the big slide. Olivia laughed, brushing his hair back. We're watching, sweetheart. Go show us. As Ethan sprinted away, Jason slipped an arm lightly around Olivia's shoulders, pulling her just a little closer. For the first time, she let herself lean into him, resting her head against his shoulder, feeling the solid, familiar warmth of him beside her. They weren't perfect. They weren't polished. But as Olivia watched Ethan reach the top of the slide and throw his arms up in triumph, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't dared believe in for a long time. Hope. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for today, for this moment, she was exactly where she wanted to be. A week had passed since Olivia's world had tipped on its axis, and she stood now in the glass-walled corner office she had once called her sanctuary. The view of the San Francisco skyline, once her source of pride, now felt distant, almost cold. Sophie sat across from her, a tablet in hand, scrolling through updates. You're trending softer in the media, she said carefully. Public sympathy is higher than we expected. The narrative is shifting from runaway bride to mother reconnecting with her child. Olivia gave a faint smile. The media loves a redemption arc. Sophie's expression softened. Liv. How are you, really? Olivia looked down at her hands. I'm tired, Sophie. But it's a good tired. For the first time, I'm not pretending. I'm not running at full speed trying to outrun my own doubts. Sophie nodded slowly. And Jason? Olivia's chest warmed at the mention of his name. We're figuring things out. There's no rush. Right now, it's about Ethan. About making sure he knows he's loved and wanted. Sophie smiled knowingly. And you? Do you know you're loved and wanted? Olivia felt a lump rise in her throat. I'm starting to believe it. Later that evening, Olivia found herself at Jason's modest apartment, curled on the couch with Ethan snuggled between them, a blanket draped over their laps as they watched an old animated movie. The simple domesticity of it all was both foreign and deeply comforting. As the credits rolled, Jason glanced at her, his voice low. You know, I never imagined we'd end up here again. Olivia smiled softly. Neither did I. But I'm glad we did. Jason reached over, brushing a strand of hair from her face. We don't have to rush anything, Liv. I just want to be part of your life. Of Ethan's life, if you'll let me. She took his hand, lacing their fingers together. I want that too. I want us to figure this out slowly, honestly. Jason exhaled, a smile tugging at his lips. We're not the same people we were back then. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe now we know how to fight for what matters. Olivia leaned her head against his shoulder, her heart full and quiet. She knew there would be challenges ahead. Reconciling her career with motherhood, navigating a new relationship with Jason, rebuilding trust and love from the ground up. But for the first time in her life, she felt ready. Ready to stop running, to stop proving, to stop hiding. Ethan stirred, curling closer, his small hand slipping into hers. Olivia smiled down at him, feeling the fierce protective love surge through her. Jason pressed a kiss to her temple, his voice a whisper. "We'll figure this out, Liv. One day at a time." She closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the moment wash over her. She didn't know exactly what the future would bring, but for once, that uncertainty didn't terrify her. It thrilled her. Because she was no longer building her life alone. She was building it together, with the two people who had already captured her heart. Spring melted into early summer, and with it came soft mornings, golden afternoons, and quiet changes Olivia never could have predicted months ago. She stood now in her penthouse kitchen, the same space that once felt vast and empty, watching Ethan and Jason at the small breakfast table. Ethan was chattering excitedly about a school project, his crayons scattered everywhere. Jason grinned as he helped cut up Ethan's pancakes, his easy laughter filling the space that had once echoed with only silence. Olivia poured herself coffee, smiling as she leaned against the counter. She had never imagined her mornings like this. Simple, messy, unpolished. No boardroom rush, no perfectly staged photo shoots, no carefully curated brand updates. Just a woman, a man, and their son, figuring out how to become a family. When Jason caught her eye, his grin softened. "You sure you're okay not going into the office today?" Olivia walked over, brushing her hand along his shoulder as she passed. "The company will survive one day without me, Jason. And honestly, I think I will too." He reached up, giving her fingers a quick squeeze. "Proud of you, Liv." Later, as they strolled through the park, Olivia felt the sharp tug of a familiar voice. Vivian, her mother, calling out from across the path. Vivian approached, her designer heels clicking sharply, her expression carefully composed. "Olivia," Vivian said smoothly, "I hear the media has softened. Investors are reassured. You've managed to keep most of your endorsements intact." Olivia gave her mother a gentle, measured smile. "Mother, I appreciate the update, but honestly, that's not what I'm thinking about today." Vivian blinked, momentarily thrown. "Then what are you thinking about?" Olivia looked down at Ethan, who was tugging Jason toward the playground, his laughter ringing out in the afternoon sun. She let out a slow, easy breath. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am, about how hard I worked for the wrong things, and how grateful I am to get a second chance at the right ones." Vivian softened just slightly, her shoulders relaxing. "You've changed. I had to." Olivia turned, her smile touched with quiet certainty. "I had to stop living for perception and start living for connection." Vivian hesitated, then reached out, giving Olivia's hand a small squeeze before stepping away. As the afternoon sun warmed her skin, Olivia joined Jason and Ethan at the swings. She watched as Jason pushed Ethan higher and higher, both of them laughing, both of them shining with a kind of joy she realized she had chased for years, not in dollars or deals, but in these small, irreplaceable moments. She had wealth. She had power. But now, she had something greater. Love, belonging, and the quiet knowledge that she was exactly where she needed to be. As Ethan squealed in delight and Jason caught her eye with a soft, knowing smile, Olivia felt it. Deep, unwavering, and true. She was home.